Comics these days are going from comics to movies to TV shows to novels to video games to comics based on video games to comics based on video games that were once a movie, eventually building up to being their own POG. I'm Phil in Toronto.
I'm Nick in New Jersey. Comics are making the transition to big and little screen more and more these days, and the Anti-Gravity Room is right on top of things. Today we'll be checking out Sliders, Superman, and the Hulk.
And I'm Kevin, also in New Jersey, putting it between Nick's pipes. And what that means is I'm a director, I read comics, ergo I'm on this episode, and right now, everything's going according to plan.
Green Lagoon got his take 112. And action.
As you might have guessed, it's comic books on the screen this week on the Anti-Gravity Room. I'm Eugenie in LA.
Cut. Do it again.
Superman has been a cartoon, a comic book, a radio series, a musical, a movie, and it's going to be a cartoon once again with Superman, the animated series from Warner Brothers.
Of all the different properties that DC Comics and Warner Brothers own that we could develop for animated series, Superman is the most obvious one to do, just because of all the visual aspects of the series, the things we can do really well in animation versus the things that you can do in live action. Superman is made for cartoons. In some respects, the characters are so familiar from all the different versions of Superman that have been done, the movies, the TV series, the comics, the cartoons, that we really tried to strive to find a new take on the character, something that wasn't exactly like the movies and wasn't exactly like Lois and Clark. So Lois and Clark actually, they relate to each other a little bit more as unfriendly siblings rather than any kind of romantic relationship. Lois is very much a 90s woman. She's very career-minded and very hard-boiled crime reporter.
You sound too good to be true. What's your secret?
We've also depowered Superman a little bit. He's not as strong as he used to be. He's not as vulnerable, so when he has these huge, gargantuan fights, there's a sense that this guy can actually die.
Nice one, Clark.
When he lifts things now, there's a sense of weight to it, and there's a sense of struggle, and it makes just a better dramatic scene.
He's a very 90s, vulnerable Superman. A couple of new writers that we're trying out on the show are Evan Dorkin and his partner Sarah Dyer. Evan is very well known for a current comic book called Milk and Cheese, which is a very wild, riotous, out there type of comic book, and that's what first attracted me to him as a potential writer for the show. We were really looking for writers who could bring a nice modern spin onto Superman.
One of the challenges of the series has been to create a look for the series that would be as unique to Superman as the look of the Batman animated series was to Batman. A big aspect of that was the city of Metropolis. We didn't want it to look just exactly like New York, you know, so we kind of went a little bit more futuristic with it. It's much bigger than New York City. It's like we keep saying the World Trade Center would be a small building in Metropolis. It's layers and layers and layers of city on top of each other, but at the same time, aesthetically, it's very pleasing. It doesn't feel like a big claustrophobic city. It's actually very uplifting and optimistic as opposed to the Batman Gotham City, which was all very dark and angular. Another big plus for me was the science fictional aspects of the series as opposed to Batman. We have a lot more giant robots and spaceships and battle scenes.
One of the things we wanted to do, especially in the early episodes, is play up the alien factor of Superman's nature. He does not stick around for praise if he saves someone. He's not a hands-on-the-hips type of,
Thank you, Commissioner. It's all in a day's work.
Yeah, none of that, none of that. In fact, at the beginning, he really doesn't even like the name Superman. It's a name that Lois Lane kind of christens him with in print, and he wonders how can I possibly live up to that?
He's a Superman for the millennium.
And beyond.
And beyond.
And beyond.
You people have exhibited as much talent as our next guest.
Yeah, Nick's got a point. I mean, I've been in film for a couple of years now. Rarely have I seen such, you know, fiery energy in a guy with just a personality to die for.
You haven't already guessed who this multi-talented individual is. It's the Ultimate Warrior.
All right, I'm here with the Warrior. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Phil. Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me today.
So tell me a bit about the comic book. This is a new thing for you, eh?
Yeah, it has. Actually, not so new. We worked on the first issue for about 8 months, but the whole project is new, and this evolution of what has come to be the warrior outside the ring, or how I live my life.
Now, I was looking through the book, and it seems like the character of the warrior uses his head more than his muscles, you know?
Yeah, you know, the attraction to the Ultimate Warrior thing is and always has been, is his level of intensity. The Ultimate Warrior character is the guy, somebody has already crossed his line, he explodes.
The comic book, compared to how important it is to you after the wrestling, say?
The comic book is more important to me. One of the disciplines of living your life in the way of a warrior, and I call it destrucity. It's about making a truce between your destiny and your reality.
All right, Warrior, tell me about the comic book. The art or writing?
James Callahan does the artwork on it, man, and like I said, we worked on #1 for 8 months, and one of the reasons was finding an artist that grasped it, because a comic book can be told without even words. A good comic book artist can tell a story just with the pictures. You don't even have to have words. I've been talking comic book my whole career as the Ultimate Warrior, you know, as I do my interviews and stuff like that. So it was really not that difficult to move it into a comic book form, you know. I'm
going to challenge the Warrior, and I'm going to say some Warrior-type advice in under 10 seconds.
Okay.
Right there.
Warrior-type advice. The most important message I can give to anybody is to follow your intuition. It's the same thing in everything anybody does in life. It's longer than 10 seconds.
Yeah, we keep going, it's good.
You know, I believe in what I'm doing. I'm going to go for it. I don't care if I never make a dime. Being passive within yourself, but if anybody crosses your line, get aggressive about defending it.
All right, well, you lost the challenge, but we got some
hey,
great
brother,
words
I
from the
appreciate
Warrior.
it.
All right.
I couldn't have done it in 10 seconds, man.
I know, that's why I asked.
I couldn't even beat Andre the Giant in 10 seconds.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Comicopia, my weekly review of comic books. We're coming to you from the Broadway Diner with Kevin. Now, first up, we have Crow City of Angels #2. This is a comic book adaptation of a movie adaptation of a comic. Kevin, what'd you think of this?
As far as comic adaptations go of movies, usually they use very straightforward artwork, looks like it, but if you look in the inside of this book, it's not. It's kind of different. It's kind of stylish. I like that. As far as the story, you know, we've kind of been there before, although there are some interesting picks.
Well, you know, I liked it, but I'd like to see it in black and white even more. That's the way that Crow was done originally. So I have to give this like 3 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. All right, next up we got Ash #0. Now, this book has gotten lots of acclaim from the comic world. Now they're doing a movie deal with DreamWorks. It's going to be an animated film. What'd you think of this, Kevin?
Ash Book 0 is kind of a predecessor to Ash 1, of course, and it tells the story of kind of where Ashley's powers came from. And it involves the future Ash, if you will. The great thing about this book, beautiful, beautiful art by the boys, and not only that, but the artists are also the writers, and Jimmy and Joe can write. It's a very classically woven tale. It weaves in a bit of normalcy in terms of, like, they take a fireman who is a heroic character in real life and make him into a superhero. For that alone, they deserve all the acclaim. Beautiful book, give it 4.5 Gs.
It's an all-around great book. It's got, like, image-style art, but at the same time, like you said, great story. I'd have to give it 4 Gs. Next up, we've got the comic epic, Kingdom Come. This is 404, the end of the whole series. What'd you think of this, Kevin?
Well, Kingdom Come, I mean, it has to be reviewed on 2 levels. Now, of course, the artwork is gorgeous. It's Alex Ross artwork. There's tons of mad cameos from former DC Universe people and just all sorts of comic tie-in stuff. You can't get better than this art, man. He is a mad genius. The writing, however, they tried to cram a lot of story into 4 issues. They should have tried for a maxi series, but instead they chose to do it in 4 bookshelf format books. I'd give the art, man, 5 Gs, maybe I'd go 6 Gs.
Hey.
I'd lift to 6 Gs for the art. Story, I'd give 3 Gs.
Well, this was a great book. I mean, it's an all-around awesome book. The coolest part about it, though, Kevin, is that Alex Ross drew me in.
Get out of here.
No, serious? Oh, wait. No, that's what he was supposed to do. In that case, I have to give this book 0 out of 5 Gs on the anti-gravity scale. Well, okay, I'll be nice, but I'm only giving it 4.9. That's it for Comicopia this week. See you next time.
The Anti-Gravity Room is brought to you by Nintendo. Remember, whenever you play, play it loud.
Sliders is only about 2 years old, but it's already achieved cult status. Now, the comic book spin-off, done by Acclaim, has achieved success on its own. We talked to the guys on the comic. So let's slide on over. Yeah, our writers are so good.
Okay, we're here at Acclaim Comics, a virtual paper warfield, checking out the Sliders comic, an adaptation of the TV series. We're here with Dan Chichester. Chichester. Now, he's the writer of Sliders. Dan, tell me, what is Sliders?
Sliders, both the television and the comic book, are about this group of travelers who are caught in this interdimensional journey. They're going from alternate dimension to alternate dimension, visiting parallel Earths that are like our Earth, but also have very vast or subtle differences.
Now, who are the characters?
The characters are Quinn Mallory, who's the physicist who invented the whole sliding process, his professor and teacher, Maximilian Arturo, who's this enormous bragger, Rembrandt Crying Man Brown, who's the soul singer from the 60s, who's completely caught up in this thing by accident, and Wade Wells, who's a sort of computer hacker and Quinn's sometimes girlfriend.
Okay, now what are some of the plot lines you have coming up?
Plot lines are complete what if, out the window, anything goes. Anything can happen on these Earths, from giant ants overrunning the Earth to Atlantis never sinking to the Russians taking over America. Anything can happen on this and will in both the comic and the TV show.
Cool. Well, we're going to slide over here and check out the guys from Atomic Paintbrush. So tell me about the coloring process.
It starts out like this, black and white, and it's translated onto the computer using Photoshop. And we can do all kinds of special effects with this program, so it really brings comics to another level.
Next up, we have the editor of the book. Yeah. Do you have any crossovers planned or vice versa with the TV series?
Well, we've used some aliens from the TV show in the early issues of Sliders, and later on, we're going to be revealing a little bit about a secret surrounding Professor Arturo that'll be revealed later this season.
Ooh, cool. All right, next up we have Jeff Vita. Now, he's a writer and assistant editor of Sliders. Original artwork. Saw the series on TV. Did you ever think it'd be a comic?
Oh, yeah. I thought it would make a great comic just because of everything that you can do in comic books that you might not be able to do on TV. So, you know, if we want giant ants, we got giant ants. If we want to train exploding underground, we got to train exploding in the, you know, anything goes, and we plan to do it.
Very cool. All right, check it out. Sliders, Acclaim, and please come and help me.
This just in. The first ever painted Vampirella miniseries is coming in early 1997 with art by Joe Jusko and story by James Robinson. How can DC heroes triumph over total darkness? Read the Final Night miniseries to find out. In Bone number 26, Thorn finally reaches the turning, and Phony Bone marches to slay a dragon.
The Incredible Hulk and Teki Muyo in love. Next. So you want more manga and anime? Well, here's an example of things yet to come. Teki Muyo in love. Typical boy finds girl, boy loses girl, both die in a hail of bullets scenario. More something like that.
This Tenchi, the movie, was the very first project we've done, halfway in Japan and halfway in the US. We started the Tenchi Muyo from video. And then later on, based on the popularity of the video, we introduced the comic book to the fans. And here in the US, we are trying to do the same thing. Now, actually, many Tenchi Muyo episode is available on video. And now we've just started to work on the American comic version of the Tenchi Muyo. Tenchi Muyo is a hybrid action comedy. And this time, the movie version is a little bit more serious type of story compared to the episodic straight-to-home video or VA type, product in the past. It was more like comedy rather than like science fiction. All of your main character is gonna, make a time trip to 26 years ago, and then you try to save main character Tenchi's mother.
I was working in my subspace laboratory when I suddenly monitored a temporal misalignment. Something has caused the timeline revolving around the Masaki family to shift. If we don't do something, it won't be just Tenchi's history that changes. It'll be ours, too.
Tell me who you are.
I've come all the way to this planet in the middle of nowhere to destroy you.
Hulk is making a comeback. Lou Ferrigno, the original live-action Hulk, will be doing the voice of the big green guy in the new cartoon coming this fall. We caught up with the gamma-radiated Mr. Universe himself. So tell us about the Incredible Hulk animated series.
Well, it's hard to believe the first time we have the first TV animated Hulk TV series with myself doing the voiceover with an incredible cast. And it's going to be a very, very exciting show.
Are there any changes to the character or storylines?
Yes, it's very updated. According to like the new comic books, you have many different characters on the show. And in this show, the Hulk gets a chance to speak, express, and every episode is an adventure. We have an incredible cast. You got Luke Perry playing Rick Jones, Betty being played by Gene Francis, Gargoyle by Mark Hamill, and Shallow Stephen playing Doc Samson. Also, Neil McDonald plays Bruce Banner.
What's it like returning to a role after such a long absence?
Well, it's wonderful because, first of all, I've done the live-action TV series, but now I get to play the voice and do the dialogue because it was always frustrating for me on the TV series that he didn't speak. But now he gets a chance to speak, I get a chance to do that. It brings back a lot of memories, and it brings back, it's kind of like putting the icing on the cake.
What brought you back to the Hulk character?
I've been the Hulk my whole life. I love how sensitive he is, sympathetic he is, emotional he is, how people see him as the monster but not as a creature. He's a creature. He has this very soft heart. All friends.
Did you read the Hulk comic books?
Oh, yes. I mean, it was my first comic book. I mean, the Hulk and Superman. I've had thousands and thousands of Hulk comic books. I've literally studied them. I mean, I was like, I lived the character of the Hulk. I mean, I was like absorbed in the comic books.
Today we're going to take a look at a game on the Sony PlayStation. It's called Bogey Dead 6, and we're checking out here on the rooftop. Shout it out. Great game. It's a flight simulator. It's one of the best flight simulators I've ever seen. Full 360-degree movement. It's like being on a plane, and if you have a big enough screen at home, I swear you'll throw up. You get to choose your plane, all right? Choose your mission. You have 2 different views. You fly around, and there is great analog control on this. It's full 360. You can do all sorts of twists and turns, take all sorts of different missions. There's a mission in the desert when you're training. There's a mission where you destroy all the oil fields, which is very cool. I won't say where that came from, but you know. But you fly this plane. It's actually like flying a real plane, and I've actually been up in one before, and watching this just reminds me of being back there. If you're into flight simulators, check out Bogey Dead 6, because I am serious. It's one of the best flight simulators I've ever seen. 4.5 Gs out of 5 on the anti-gravity room scale, because the graphics are good, sound is good, the gameplay itself, using this little analog, you'd think you'd need the 2 joysticks, which is available for this later anyway. You'd think with 2 joysticks it'd be a lot better. Actually, with just this simple Sony PlayStation controller, it's not that simple, but great movement, full plane action. You want to go flying? Bogey Dead 6 in the stores now. On the rooftop, shout it out.
Do you like reading other people's mail, Kevin?
Invasion of privacy is my life.
Mailbag up next.
Eugenie,
over
here.
Eugenie, over here.
Oh, that's terrific. Terrific. Eugenie.
The Postal Service loves us.
Eugenie, one more. Eugenie, right here.
Ryan Brown writes, can you guys do something on martial arts comics? Of course. Keep an eye out for my new comic, A Fistful of Filth.
Michael Ortego asks, Why do you guys call Detective Comics DC Comics? Since the C stands for comics, it's like saying Detective Comics Comics.
Oh, my God, Michael, man. What kind of fanboy question is that? Don't you think we thought of that? Nick, tell him.
Exactly.
If we called it DC as opposed to DC Comics, don't you think people might get it confused with Washington, D.C.? Am I right?
You're right.
Then there's some crazy Russian, right? And he hears that, and he's like, we say something like the DC launch, missiles fly, international disaster, all because you can't, you know, ooh, I want to hear DC, period. No. Hope that answers his question. Oh.
Is it true you've turned on the Brady sequel?
Is it true you're up for Superwoman?
That's it for comics on the screen this time around.
That's enough, guys.
So, Kevin, is working in TV that different from working in film?
I don't know. I think TV's a little better, you know. Film directors tend to be very anxious, very angry, people anal retentive, if you will. TV directors, very easygoing.
Cut,
you know?
cut. It's all wrong. Do it again and make it work this time, you idiots. Take 4.
So, Kevin, is film different than TV?
Yeah, I guess.
Superman, Sliders, The Incredible Hulk, some pretty cool stuff. See you next time on The Anti-Gravity Room.
There's something wrong with Bill's new arm. It seems to have a mind of its own, but no need to worry. The donor's returned to reclaim what's rightfully his. Jeff Fahey stars in Body Parts, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, Sci-Fi Saturday. Now stay tuned for The Odyssey, coming up next on the Sci-Fi Channel.